So, yesterday, a lot of you, almost all of you were here yesterday, except for a few exceptions. I said I would talk about how we go about establishing that which I had called the essence of spirituality. Just to review for those people who were not here, we were speaking about what it was in my personal experience, which I felt was the most essential of all things in my own spirituality. And of course, since I'm summarizing, you're getting like 2 hours worth of discussion in 1 minute, but that's the nature of a summary. I concluded that in my own life, what was most important to me is my experience of spirituality. I concluded that talking about it and discussing it and conceptualizing it is all right, but actually it remains a mental exercise until I have some kind of actual experience of what I'm talking about.
Yep.
It is my, shall we call theory, or my feeling, that the most important thing in my life is myself. Now that sounds arrogant.
Это может звучать высокомерно.
That I would consider myself the most important thing in my life.
Что я
Somebody might say, well, why don't you consider, for example, God more important than you?
кто-то
Why don't you consider, for example, your family more important than you?
Почему?
Governments might say, why don't you consider your country more important than you? You don't want to go out and get shot up to pieces and blown into little bits, but your country wants you to do that. There are different ways to look at this problem. It's a problem. It's an existential problem. What's the most important part? What is the most important element in life? One of the ways to deal with it is to detach life from the individuals and speak about life as a general concept. As a general concept, especially for governments, individuals are not so important. The most important thing is the country, therefore millions can die to protect the country. From the generalized point of view of what's good for the economy, whether or not an individual is enjoying his life economically is not important. What's important is that the economy is flowing and booming. From the point of view of a big religion or a structured religion, what's most important is God, and the individuals come and go, and they're born and die. It's not so important. Obviously, I'm simplifying this. I'm bringing it to its extreme so that we can look at it from that point of view. But I would like to turn this conception around the other way and say, because I'm important, that which I am part of becomes important to me. I'll give you an example from the United States about the Army, because it's a very good example. I already gave it, but I'll want to talk about it some more.
Yep.
When I was young, when I was in the university, the Vietnam War just started, and they were just drafting people. So I was in one of the first draft picks. And in those days, you didn't mean a thing. You just simply had to go to Vietnam and fight, and it didn't matter to it whether you were inspired or not to do it. It was just do.
Те времена,
Go because my eyes are so bad. They said, there's no way on earth we want you in the Army. They probably figured with me with a gun in my hand, I don't know what I'm going to shoot. It's basically the only time I've been very happy about having the worst eyes in the world. Probably that's why I was born with these bad eyes. If I probably was born with great vision, I'd be dead. But nowadays it's different. They don't have a draft anymore. That means they can't just take you and say, you go there and it doesn't matter. It's voluntary, which means now they have to convince you to do it. How do they do that? They make you feel that it is a very glorious thing to be a soldier for your country. It is a very elevated thing. It is a very pure motivation.
Это нечто очень возвышенное.
And by the way, you will get an education, you will get health benefits, and you will be taken care of.
И
If you happen to live beyond your 22nd birthday, you will be taken care of. Of course, they don't say that.
Так получается.
So, in other words, when circumstances change, the shift may be more towards the individual, but still, for an individual to do something which is probably contrary to what they want to do, they have to be convinced of a higher purpose to do it. In other words, you can convince somebody to do something which is contrary to their own self-interests if they feel there's a higher purpose to it. So there's a lot of arrangement to make one think that higher purposes are more important than you. Or alternatively, an illusion is created where it seems as if this is good for you, but actually it's really good for somebody else. Advertising is based on that principle.
На том же принципе основана реклама.
To convince you to buy something you would never even consider buying, you have absolutely zero reason to have, because it's very good for the person selling. Now, often spirituality is presented in the same light. That your life is basically worthless. Then, I apologize, I'm oversimplifying. Because your life becomes worthless if you work for the sake of the religion.
Потому что
Oh, again, I'm oversimplifying. You actually work for the sake of God, but we're the representatives of God.
вы будете работать.
In other words, you do this activity that you wouldn't ordinarily do, but it'll be very good because it's important for God, and everything should go to God, and total selflessness is the key. We just send everything upwards, send everything outwards. Selflessness is the key, to just deny anything of the self and to give everything we have, to just offer it. Now, more or less, we see this pattern in all traditional religions. We see this pattern, especially nowadays, in various forms of fundamentalist religions, where people may even give their lives for the sake of what they're supposed to be doing for God. Some may work contrarily to one's health or one's welfare or even one's psychological stability. As we spoke about yesterday, to make a list of the negative things is easy. I mean, we can go on for hours and it's quite boring. After you heard one statement, you know them all. Back to me.
Так что вернемся ко мне.
I always like to talk about me, I'm sorry. I'm ultimately my favorite subject to talk about. There are many reasons for that. Number one is that I'm always trying to convince you that I'm better than I am. And I'm always trying to convince myself that actually I'm better than I am. My opinion of myself is not very good. By convincing you that I'm very good, your response to me convinces me that I'm very good, and I feel good about that. Therefore, I'm my favorite subject. When I talk about myself somehow or another, it balances out my feeling of not being connected to myself. So after doing this for many years, I came to the conclusion, again, in that same experiential process yesterday, that, well, let me look at it from the complete opposite point of view. Let me just suppose that I'm the most important person in my world. Let me look at everything from the point of view of me. I don't mean that I'm the center of the universe. I would think this process is just as valid for each and every one of you. I'm not saying I'm the center of the universe. What I am saying is that I am the most important thing in my life. If I think about it, unless I can love me, I can't love you. I am not healthy. If I am not strong, I can't do anything for anyone else. If I don't develop my intelligence, if I don't develop my capacity to express myself, I couldn't possibly do anything for the benefit of anyone else. When I start analyzing like this, I see that, well, basically everything begins with me. It's not egoistic, that's just normal. For example, if I'm going to make some spiritual commitment, if I'm going to do something spiritual, if I'm going to devote anything to God, for instance, I have to feel that way. Otherwise, it's not devotion, it's just an artificial act. Let's just give an example. Let's say you're some lady and I'm supposed to marry you because it's been arranged, because there are many arranged marriages in this world. I don't love you. In fact, I have not even seen you until the marriage day. Point in this, by the way. I was in, Dubai.
А,
And I was staying in the house of a very rich Indian who happened to own the hotel I was in. And I noticed that his wife was, sorry to say, and nobody please say I quoted, don't quote me on this, but she was a little bit crazy.
но я заметил, что его жена, она была немножко сумасшедшая.
So I was kind of like, I'm trying to be discreet because I'm in somebody else's house. Obviously, I have to have some culture. Some kind of like looking at her like this every now and then. Very smart man. So as soon as she went to the kitchen, he said, "Yeah, this was an arranged marriage by my parents.
И
You know she's completely nuts. Just pay no attention to her."
я
I said, "It's nice to say. I'm glad you said that, but how did you let this happen?"
я не понимаю, ты вообще позволил?
That it's my culture, it's the family tradition, I had no choice. I heard at the wedding when they lifted the veil and I went, oh God. Let's take this example. Here you are in a relationship with somebody you never met really, but you're supposed to love and be devoted to because it's the tradition.
Только любить.
You offer her nice dresses and jewelry and take care of her in all ways and make nice arrangements in the house.
И вы начинаете,
You speak to her with flowery words to make her feel good. But there's no love. There's no devotion.
но при этом
Do you catch the parallel?
вы понимаете,
That if you are doing something, even a religious something, because it's the tradition to do it, you can convince yourself, because many Indians do, that you have some love and devotion, or if you keep working at it, you'll get some love and devotion. It was told to me by an Indian man, don't marry the girl you love, but love the girl you marry. And then I was thinking, wow, that's really a gamble, isn't it? I mean, that's a risk.
я подумал,
But I'm not trying to bash arranged marriages because some of the marriages amongst Indians are the best marriages in the world. I'm really not trying to do that.
я совсем не...
I would never recommend it. Now, let's say you're in a religious process where God is your bride in that sense.
в жизни.
You don't have love for your bride there.
И, допустим, у вас нет...
You're told if you just keep acting as if you did or keep offering things and do some service, you will get love.
Но вам говорят,
Is that the most important thing is that deity over there, that you worship God in whatever religion you are. So therefore, it doesn't matter if you don't have any experience. Just keep moving in that direction by doing this and doing that and doing the other thing.
потому что
What I just said is blasphemy in every religion in the world. I'm taking a shotgun at the heart of the religious processes of the world. I don't want to do that. That's not my point. But my point is that I want to take away all of this emphasis that pulls all the center, the responsibility, the focus on me away from me to some unknown factor. I know somebody very well who has the linguistic fault of beginning with the unknown and moving to the known. I have had with this person conversations which started with something like, and then he told me it was the stupidest thing ever. I would always say, okay, stop, run it back. We have to first of all understand who are all these unknown, who is the he, what did he talk about, and what are you talking about anyway?
и тогда я
You have to start with the known. Instead of saying he, you say Joe. And Joe said that which I thought was stupid.
надо говорить, это
Logically, you begin with what is known, and then you move to the unknown. That is just simply the way things work very rationally in discussions, or the way things work very rationally in any kind of investigation you're going to do. Learning is like that. If I'm going to learn how to play the keyboard, I have to first start with something known. If the teacher tells me, okay, I've never touched it before, play an A chord. first I have to know these things here are keys. These keys represent notes. These notes work together in a harmonic scale, and that's an A. With the known, you gradually increase to the unknown. When it comes to things which are very real to us, what is the known factor? Children know it. Every baby born in this world already has it all properly figured out. I am the center of my universe.
Он всегда точно знает, я центр собственной вселенной.
My parents are my servants.
А мои родители, они мне помогают, служат даже.
Simple.
Они мои слуги, помощники.
Finished.
Очень просто.
Only as we grow up, we learn, oh no, it's the other way around. We gradually switch our perspective.
Мы постигаем его.
Some people argue by saying, well, that's because we're so primitive as a child. Kids are not very primitive. That's just some ignorance.
Но я не...
Another subject.
Но это уже другая тема.
So, we come into this world with this feeling about our importance. We gradually lose it day by day.
И постепенно, днем в день за днем.
Until sometimes we're laying on our deathbeds and everybody's just saying, when does the old guy go already? I mean, we've been here for 3 weeks and I got work to do. So, let's look at it this way. I say, this is my proposal, this is the way I feel too, that I am the most important person in my life. If I said that with pride, if I said that with arrogance, if I said that with the idea that I'm more important than you, this would be something negative. It would be something that nobody would be interested in. But if I say, I am the most important person in my life, you are the most important person in your life, you are the most important person in your life, I am making a statement that's quite different. That is that I'm beginning with the known. What I really know is me.
То, что мне на самом деле известно, я сам. У меня есть сознание, у меня есть осознанность. Даже если кто-то будет пытаться меня убедить в чем-то, то именно я буду его слушать, именно я буду слышать то, что он говорил, именно я буду принимать или не принимать то, что он убеждает. И именно я буду принимать это только потому, что я сам решаю, хочу, выбираю это принимать. Когда меня заставляют что-то принимать, это уже совсем другая ситуация. Потому что, по сути, я буду только притворяться, что я принял это. Но если я действительно принял что-то, то это происходит только тогда, когда я действительно хочу этого, выбираю этого. И даже если это ошибочно, но, по крайней мере, я сам это выбираю. И обычно это происходит потому, что в тот момент, когда я это делал, я был полностью убежден, что делаю что-то правильно.
Because that's all I've got to go on. The only thing I can be certain of, and even then I'm not so sure all the time. I finished with this boring conversation. It's amazing when I talk about this and people finally accept, yeah, it's a fact, you know, I'm the most important person. Everybody goes, oh, jeez. I mean, it's me. Here I thought there was some hope, and it all boils down to me. I saw it. I just looked around, I saw it. It's okay, there's hope. I'm going to now get into the hope, which is not boring. Now, there is an amazing thing about me, which makes everything great. That amazing thing which makes me capable of doing the most amazing thing of all that can be done is to connect myself to the divine. Two people connect, there's got to be two people, otherwise there's no question of connection. So I propose all spirituality begins with me. It doesn't begin with anyone else.
Она не начинается ни с кого больше для меня, кроме меня.
My spirituality doesn't depend on any other individual because it is mine and mine alone. That is also very revolutionary. But what about the great saintly personalities who give us the blessings to be spiritual? I never said they're not required. I never said they're not nice. But they don't give me spirituality. Nobody can give me spirituality. Nobody can take away my spirituality. I am spiritual. That's all there is to it. My pure spiritual essence is just there. Now obviously, some people can help us understand that, otherwise I would be out of business. But ultimately, all there is my spirituality. Each of us, our spirituality. Now, embracing your spirit is the most important thing. In most traditions, one is urged to find connection to the spirit by reaching outside of one.
И причем обретать ее, делая что-то, совершая какие-то действия.
By praying, by serving.
Например, молитвы.
Every religious tradition is filled with doing. The bowing down, the prayers, the moving here, the moving there, the going around, the lighting candles, the doing things, the offerings, the cleaning, the everything. It's filled with doing.
Поклон.
Everywhere is doing. Now, in some Buddhistic traditions it's quite different, but then again they're not really called religion in that sense, but they just sit and meditate. Doing religions look at that and they say it's just something void, I don't know. I am proposing the religion of being. But if I were to say religion, everybody would say, oh my God, not again, the same thing, like when I did this, that, the other thing. As soon as you say religion, you got a church, and you got collection boxes, and you have rent, and you have utilities. You have people to pay for this and that. We have to get a new decoration over there, and we have to have a festival to bring new people in and make more money coming because the old ones are dying and have to go on. And we have to have a hierarchy to manage it. Immediately you have this big doing. Now I'd like to speak about, I'm canceling now the adjective. I'd like to speak about being.
No.
It's not a religion because religion means all this other stuff and all we care about is me right now. Ultimately, if I wanted to be very proper linguistically, I would not even talk about my spirituality because I don't possess it. It is me. So, how would I properly speak about this to anybody else? I wouldn't. I would simply be that sage who sits under the tree and just is. But then again, if I was like that, everything in your spirituality, if it was related to me, would be totally in your hands. You would think what you want. You would feel what you want about me. And it would be all you. Somebody would say, oh, that's very spiritual. Let me sit there too. A dog would go by and pee. Somebody else would come by and say, that guy's just trying to avoid work. Somebody else would go by and say, he must have had a very sorry childhood. In other words, just sitting there like that, maybe somebody might catch on, maybe not. In any way, I wouldn't do such a thing. This is just theoretical. Therefore, those who want to share spirituality, those who want to assist others to develop their spirituality, use words. When we use words, we're stuck with the limitations of words. Like when I say my spirituality, it's redundant. Because I am. And really, you can say nothing else if you wish to be precise. Now, sometimes that frustrates people, especially guys like me who like to talk a lot. So often we invent all of these things to say to talk around the subject. But don't forget, the whole topic of this discussion is this 180-degree shift from all of this doing and talking and etc. right back to the me. I am the most important person in my life. Now I'm going to stand all the way in the 180-degree corner and I'm just going to simply embrace I am. I'm going to say, this is the process. This is my way of existence. I am. Now I have to step back away from there. Because an explanation is required. Now that person standing over there who is a rare person. Because most people don't think like that. And there's millions of reasons why, and we already discussed a lot of them today.
Есть смысл сегодня.
I propose that if we can get back to that state where all we have as our perception of spirituality is that we have everything at our fingertips to realize everything there is to realize about spirituality everywhere. I do not mean to say, again, that that person over there becomes everything everywhere or merges with everything everywhere. These are just statements which really mean nothing. I mean, after all, one may say that he has merged with the everything everywhere and has become the one with the everything everywhere. But if I simply stand over here and say, well, am I in the everywhere, everything everywhere?
Развивается совсем, становится единым совсем. Но если я буду стоять где-то в другой позиции, чем там, и буду говорить, ну разве я слит при этом совсем, объединен совсем?
So what am I thinking right now? Simple question, even a psychic could answer it.
Очень.
A psychic could answer it.
Даже экстрасенсы обычно могут на него ответить.
They can't answer it.
Но они не могут на него ответить.
And then they say, well, that's not that kind of oneness. I say, well, yeah, right, because it's just an idea.
Я говорю, да, потому
You haven't experienced it because I'm standing 2 meters from you. You're not one with me.
то, что я чувствую.
So when I'm over here and I am the most important thing, I am, and therefore I have all capacity spiritually, I mean something else.
И поэтому
Now, very few people understand that.
очень.
It's sometimes called a very mysterious thing, very difficult thing to attain, very extremely advanced state. It's often called self-realization, and that's only done by very few people.
Часто это называют очень редкими людьми.
I don't agree.
Но я не согласен.
I'm sorry.
Простите.
I say it's very easy.
Я бы сказал, что это очень легко.
I say anyone can do it.
Я бы сказал, что любой человек может это
I say it's the easiest thing one could ever do.
Я
Want to know why?
И знаете почему?
Because there's nothing to do.
Потому что в таком состоянии вообще делать ничего не надо.
How could it be easier? I mean, logically speaking, things become difficult to do because you've got to do this, and you've got to do that, and you've got to do that, and you've got to do this, and you've got to do the other thing.
Я имею в виду,
Read any religious literature, you'll start way down here, and you got to do this, and this, and this, and this, and that, 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 and this.
возьмите любое религиозное писание, и вы обнаружите, что там начинается все очень издалека, и потом пишется, что надо сделать то, потом то, а затем то еще, то, туда, сюда, 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 и туда.
And it never ends,
И потом
because there's so much to do. Only the rarest of rare souls can do all of this and that and
и там
finally
описывается,
get
что
to there.
сам они наконец-то когда-нибудь, может быть, они...
And then they are carted out. They are brought out with garlands, staffs, and big
Вам
things.
еще
And big hats.
демонстрируют таких людей, и одевают на них гирлянды, показывают их вам как экспонат.
And we ask, are they self-realized?
И мы спрашиваем, это что, есть самореализованный человек?
And we're told, oh yes, how
Но
can you
говорят,
doubt?
конечно, а как ты можешь сомневаться вообще?
And then we ask, how do you know?
А если мы спросим, а вы точно уверены, да? Откуда вы знаете, что?
Everybody knows.
Как уже все об этом знают, и вообще не осталось.
It's obvious.
Это очевидно.
It's self-evident.
Истина вообще самоочевидна.
Oh, okay.
Я скажу, о, интересно, хорошо.
I mean, how do you prove you're self-realized, objectively? There are symptoms.
Есть определенные симптомы, признаки.
You don't eat so much, you don't sleep so much.
Вам уже особенно ничего не нужно, даже спать особенно не нужно.
So Jasmuheen is self-realized?
Поэтому получается, Джасмухин самореализованная личность.
No.
Нет, нет, нет.
What is it that you do that shows you're self-realized?
Но что же вы такое делаете, что является признаком того, что вы самореализованная личность?
That's different. No, it's the words. They inject, when these people speak, they inject into your heart.
Что вы такое делаете другого,
Shakti.
что другие люди не делают?
And you get it, and it's like,
Это еще надо понять, это надо почувствовать. Вы слушаете слова этого человека, когда он говорит слова, он вас просто впрыскивает сразу абсолютную истину. Это же шакти, вы почувствуете.
I mean, honestly speaking, how do you quantifiably define who is self-realized and who is not?
Я самореализованный.
If you cannot actually do that,
Если это,
then how do you know when you're doing this?
то откуда вы знаете, что когда вы делаете это и то, и сё,
You get somewhere.
и всегда, что вообще куда-то придете?
Because the proof that you get somewhere is this self-realized souls, and here's one.
Потому что доказательство того, что вы на личности, а их пока только вот один.
This is called circular reasoning.
Это называется как бы замкнутый логический круг.
You're proving a thing with itself.
То есть, когда что-то, оно является доказательством самого себя.
Now, I know why we like certain spiritual people.
Но я прекрасно понимаю, почему нам нравятся некоторые определенные духовные люди.
Because they make us feel good.
Потому
Finished. That is it.
мы себя очень...
I go before the... And I feel good.
здорово чувствую.
And if my feeling good includes some sparkle in my spirit, I say they've got Shakti.
Если
I don't argue that point. There
я...
are plenty of people I love to be near. There's plenty of people that I feel that from. I feel good around them. I think they're spiritual. I like it.
Потому что мне это нравится.
Are they self-realized? I don't know. I don't even care.
Можно...
In my world of spirit, everybody can be self-realized. It's easy.
В моем мире,
Because you don't need to do that.
потому что вам не надо же делать это туда-сюда, туда-сюда, туда-сюда.
Because there's nothing you have to do.
Потому что вам...
And I repeat, if there's nothing you have to do to become fully absorbed in what you are, how could it be difficult to do it?
И я так...
Now I know what you're thinking, because I would obviously think the same way you're thinking.
Я сейчас понимаю, о чем вы думаете, потому что я бы очевидно сам точно так же думал.
Doing nothing is the hardest thing on earth.
Вы,
But
наверное,
I never said do nothing.
но я
I just said there's nothing you have to do to be self-realized.
лишь сказал,
That does not mean you do nothing.
это не значит, что вы вообще ничего не делаете.
It just means that to totally realize yourself, you don't have to do anything. Now that is revolutionary.
Вот это революционный момент.
It completely contradicts every religious discipline, even the Buddhists I talked about.
Это...
Now I'm not trying to say I invented anything special, because I didn't invent this. It's just what we are.
это просто то, какие мы есть.
If you think about it.
Зато,
If I am.
если я есть,
Now, what do I have to do to realize that?
то что...
I just have to stop saying it's not so. I have to stop thinking it's not so. I have to stop acting it's not so. I have to stop disrespecting myself. I have to stop not loving myself.
Все, что мне нужно...
In other words, I have to stop being insane.
Перестать не любить себя. Другими словами, мне нужно просто перестать быть безумным, остановить свое безумие.
Just like if you're eating something and it's killing you.
Если вы что-то употребляете в пищу, что приводит вас к смерти.
You have liver problems and you keep eating fatty things. Let's say you're smoking and killing yourself. What's the obvious solution to these problems? Stop smoking. Stop eating the fatty things.
Какой очевидный...
Now let's take all of these things we've wrapped ourselves up in our whole life and maybe other lives too. And let's just say, let's stop thinking like that. Let's stop feeling like that. Let's stop doing like that.
И возьмите все.
What is the hardest thing in the world for people to do? I'll bet you'll not think about it. You'll not be able to answer me.
Так является...
Rhetorical question. I'm not asking for an answer.
Это риторический вопрос, можете даже не отвечать.
Stand in front of a mirror
Встаньте перед зеркалом
look into your eyes.
Посмотрите себе прямо в глаза.
Now, the first thing that's going to happen, you're going to go, uh-oh.
Первое, что произойдет, вот даже это будет трудно сделать.
Imagine that. You can look in my eyes.
Можете себе представить, мои
It's not a
глаза
problem.
можно смотреть без проблем.
Unless I start looking at you, but besides
Я
that.
могу, конечно, так посмотреть, что вы тоже думаете.
But look into your own eyes in the mirror. Just look.
Но просто посмотрите.
Now, I don't mean just look at the form of the eyes. I mean right into the eyes. The same way you're looking, I want you to look into the eyes of the one who's looking. Just think about that.
Я не...
It's heavy.
Но
It's heavy.
тяжело,
It's
тяжело.
difficult.
Это трудно, нет?
Because you are face to face with yourself.
Потому что тогда...
Now we're going to do the most difficult thing there is to do.
А дальше...
Thought that was the difficult part? Not at all. That was kid stuff.
Нет, еще...
Look into your eyes, and I mean deeply look, and you're going to say,
А сейчас вы посмотрите себе прямо в глаза, глубоко в глаза себе посмотрите.
and you're going to mean,
И скажите, искренне скажите.
I love you.
Скажите.
Everything breaks down right there.
Прямо там все у вас и закончится.
Try it.
Попробуйте.
Try it when you're alone.
Попробуйте это наедине.
Try it when there's nobody around.
Когда никто не видит.
Because you're going to need all the help you get from yourself.
Потому что вам не...
Because as soon as you do that, you see all the reasons why you shouldn't.
Чтобы не...
I thought I was pretty hot stuff.
Я-то думал, что я такой крутой.
So I stood in front of that mirror saying, it's going to be a snap.
И когда же вообще ничего не стоит.
I love you. I felt like an idiot. It was absurd. It was absolutely absurd for me to say that.
Я вообще себя почувствовал идиотом. Для меня это было таким абсурдом, что уже ничего не понимаю.
And then immediately all the reasons why came to my head instantly. All the reasons why I couldn't possibly love a guy like this came to my head.
И сразу же,
You don't know much about me.
понимаете, ну, вам-то, конечно, легко смеяться, потому что вы-то меня не знаете.
You only know that I'm letting you know. If by chance you find out something you're not supposed to know, I'll do a very clever song and dance to make that go away.
Если вдруг,
When I look at me,
когда я смотрю на себя,
I know all that stuff you're never supposed to know about me.
то я-то прекрасно знаю все, что вы вообще никогда обо мне не должны обнаружить.
I don't even know if it's a long list or not. I can't even get past item number 3.
Позволить себе подумать.
And then I start shaking.
Уже начал дрожать.
Now, this is very serious.
Но
Everybody doesn't think
прерыватель не думает, что это серьезно, он думает, как это все весело.
But it is funny. It's actually quite amusing. Yet at the same time, it's the most serious thing there is. It's such a serious issue that loving ourselves is so difficult because there are these reasons we can't.
Это может
Because you do this. Because you think like this. Because you feel like this.
потому что мы сделали,
Reasons not to love ourselves.
у нас есть реальные причины, почему себя не любить.
Because we do not love ourselves, because we do not understand and embrace ourselves, we can never say, I am. When you say I am, there's no judgment. There's no condemnation. There's no good or bad.
Уже в этом нет ни плохого, ни хорошего.
There's no better or worse.
Нет,
There's no I will or I did.
нет того, что я сделаю то, буду таким, я сделал то, что в прошлом.
There's no doing.
Там вообще нет делания.
It's a pure state of being.
Это чисто.
That is when you can be fully embracing what you are without anything stopping you. Many of the things that we condemn ourselves for, especially those things on that list, we condemn ourselves for because others have taught us that those things are bad. Parents taught us, our friends taught us, our religions taught us, our books of ethics teach us. And we accepted that. But when we condemn ourselves, we do it on the basis of what we have learned from others. One who simply understands their essence, I am, lets all that go. One realizes these are just artificial things which are being placed upon me by the outside world. These are artificial things. And I should not judge myself based on these external things. I should not judge myself at all. I should just accept. Whatever it is, it is. Whatever I am, I am. Whatever it... Hey! I was immediately zoom over there. I guess he's saying we got to get on with this so we can play some music. So you just accept yourself. And you do not accept other things. The idea of accepting these external things, this idea is what has ruined our spirituality. Therefore I understood, if I really want to be at this point where I am, and I just understand my essence, and don't forget, we are going to get to the point where when one fully understands one's essence, one can easily connect to the divine because the divine essence and my essence are exactly the same nature. I am ultimately nothing but the energy of the divine.
Потому что то, что я есть, в конечном итоге не что иное, как божественное.
So if I am feeling and embracing and just being my energy, all I have to do is energetically reach out to the divine and the connection is almost instantly there. Because we are of the same energy.
Потому что
and all I have to do is to say, to feel, to intend, to connect. Or to choose not to be not connected. Actually, it's the easiest thing ever. And the hardest thing is convincing people they can do that. Therefore, many things are included. It's one of the things that I'm doing is I'm deprogramming you. This is a systematic deprogramming. Deprogramming you from your self-hatred. Deprogramming you from your self-condemnation. Deprogramming you from the influences of others on your life.
Депрограммирование вас от влияния других на вашу жизнь.
And bringing you back to your pristine state, which is your existence. Full respect for yourself.
С полным почтением, уважением себя.
With full love for yourself. Because when you have love for yourself, you can share that love. Share that love with the divine. Let's just take a little deviation here and talk about giving and taking versus sharing. In the old school, life is a process of giving and taking. You got to give some, take some, you give and you take. This is the old school. This principle was active in economics, it was active in the business community, it was active everywhere. You got to give some, you got to get some. Since some years, a whole new idea has entered, which is called sharing. Sharing means win-win. It means that my interest and your interests become one. When I empower you to make money and you're happy with your life, that helps me make money, so I'm happy with my life. Sharing means where you don't really define the limits of yours and the other person's. It's just that you use things in such a way that they benefit both of you at the same time. 2 years old, I have my toy truck. My mother says, let the other boy play with the truck. So I have to give it to him. I'm not happy really about giving it, because I want to play with something too. So my mother comes and gives me a toy shovel. I wasn't so happy about the shovel because I wanted the truck. So giving and taking didn't exactly work right there. But if we're sharing, in other words, if the game itself is where my truck is going over there, and then the other one takes the truck over there and brings it back to me, and then my truck goes over there. If the game itself includes both sharing the whole experience so that everybody's engaged in it, it's different. Let's talk about love. I give love. I get love.
Я получаю любовь.
Something's not right about that.
Но что-то здесь не так.
And the something that's not right is like a disconnection. There's like love going out and love coming in. Maybe the quality of the love going out is not the same as the quality of the love going in. Maybe it's not even in the same direction. Maybe somehow it's not related. Sharing, when we talk about love, is an incredibly important concept. I've seen in relationship between me and the divine that the sharing is the key. In the beginning, if I want to connect to the divine, let's say I've never really experienced that before.
Вначале, если я хочу...
Let's say I've finally gotten to the point where I can understand my energy. I feel it. I feel very powerfully my energy.
Допустим,
I'm comfortable with it. I don't condemn it in any way. I don't accept anything placed upon me. I'm very happy with being myself. And when I'm going to initiate the process of a connection, I'm going to send out my energy of love. But even if it's received, it's not going to mean it. Because I'm not going to feel anything, because it's just going out. As far as I'm concerned, love is going out. Fine, that's still me. Now when I'm going to actually connect, I've got to feel the other. That's the whole point of connection, is it not? But when I'm going to tune to a radio station, I have to get the right frequency so that...
Эта волна пришла и проявилась передо мной.
And again, this is why connection is the easiest thing in the world.
И опять же, именно поэтому вот такое соединение, это самое простое, что есть в мире. Потому что тут даже делать ничего не надо.
So what do I do?
Что же я делаю?
Nothing.
Ничего.
But how do I feel?
Как я чувствую?
I just feel.
Я просто чувствую.
Now just consider that. There's no action.
Подумайте об этом. Здесь нет действия.
There's no even adjustment.
Мне не нужно даже себя как-то менять или еще что-то делать.
There's not even anything I have to even think of. How do you feel?
Как
a method to it?
Если для этого...
Can anybody ever explain to me the process of feeling? Doesn't exist. There is no such thing as a process of feeling. Either you feel or you don't feel. Isn't it? We don't think about these things like that, but it's so. Either you feel or you don't feel. If I am in this state of being,
если я нахожусь в этом состоянии бытия,
and I am that divine energy that is centered within me in this individuation called me, and I allow my consciousness just to flow with the slightest thought and intention of feeling the divine. But the divine is everywhere. Divine energy is everywhere. Because there is nothing else. That's all there is. So what do I have to do to feel that?
Что же мне надо сделать, чтобы почувствовать это?
I have to feel.
Просто.
That's all.
Вот и все.
I just feel.
Я это просто чувствую.
There it is.
Вот оно есть.
It's the simplest thing in the world. Feeling of a particular personality, you can do that too.
Если вам важно, как...
Whatever your God is, whoever your God is, just say, I just wish to feel, that's all. And you will.
И все, и это произойдет.
There's nothing to do.
И ничего не надо делать.
The connection is made.
Вы установили связь.
There never was a disconnection. It's the simplest thing in all of existence.
Это самое простое во всем мироздании.
And the only thing you need to do to get there is to forget everything you've ever learned. Every single last thing you've ever learned.
Буквально все, что вы так изучали, даже вот то, что вы совсем недавно изучали.
Ever. Isn't that wild?
Разве это не странно?
Forget everything you've ever learned. What have you learned?
Потому что если вы уже этому научились?
You've learned this and this and this and that, which pile on you and separate you from everything else.
Вы учите.
Isn't that amazing?
И в результате вы просто забываете о том, кто вы есть. Разве это не поразительно?
I mean, I don't know what you feel, but as far as I'm concerned, I think this is just the most incredible, weighty thing, and yet it's the simplest thing. What is ultimately the process?
В конечном итоге, в чем же процесс?
To just relax.
Процесс в том,
All of these things we've learned, all of these things that are placed upon us are a stress.
чтобы
Be like this, I should talk like this, I should look like this, I should do this, and I should do that, and I should do it in this way, and that way, and at that time. If there are any enemies in this world, it is stress. And I don't define stress as anything which makes you feel like you've had 10 cups of coffee. Insane stress.
от безумия.
Technically, scientifically, stress means any force which is contrary, or shall we say, contrary to the law of gravity, according to structure. Well, it depends, architectural stress, engineering stress. You have tension and stress. How do I define this? Skip the scientific explanation. Stress is anything which is unnaturally pushing itself upon you. All of these external things
Все, что неестественно на вас накладывается.
I was going to go through a whole scientific explanation of tension and stress, but I thought better of it.
Я хотел даже...
So anything that's external on us is stress. And simply let it all go. Sometimes people say, how do I relax?
Мне говорят, как же мне расслабиться?
What do I have to do?
Что бы мне такое сделать?
I'll do anything.
Я все, что угодно сделаю.
I'm so stressed.
Я в таком напряжении нахожусь вообще.
And I always end up telling them, let it go.
И всегда людям советую.